chose to take this chance and step on this stage, I asked myself, what does it really mean to take center stage and tell my own story? The answer that I came to was vulnerability. The first memory I have of my eating disorder is not the very act of not eating itself, but it's the desire to not eat. A simple New Year's resolution to become fitter, paired with, I like how light I feel when I'm hungry, turned out to be a deadly combination. Slowly, I'd started living on nothing. It was a rebellion against my own self. I was completely hijacked. My entire survival instincts had reversed. It was scary because I wore myself down to the bone. But maybe I just didn't know how else to be vulnerable. So I bared my physical self, hoping that it would be enough, that I would be enough. Little by little, as I was losing my physical self, I had to fly overseas to be hospitalized because there was no treatment near home that could nurse me back to health. You can't keep living on nothing. And slowly, I'd started to lose all that I was about to. The doctors and my family, they nursed me back to health. They helped me eat to sustain myself. But when I had the choice to get away with it, I took that choice. When I came to college, I had full freedom over what I ate and when I ate. Somewhere in the back of my mind, that feeling that not eating gave me, it lured me. It's like a drug that you're addicted to, you see. You crave the feeling that it gives you, and you do whatever you can to get to that feeling. And that's exactly what I did. I took the choice to not eat. And even one time makes a difference, because it paves the path for the next time, and then the next. And all these choices that I was making were just reinforcing my eating disorder and making it stronger. It was frustrating at times because I wanted to eat sometimes, but I really couldn't. I didn't know how. The more I didn't eat, I had forgotten how to eat. And the thing is, that's what eating disorders do. They make you believe that you have no choice. Even when your body is physically shutting down. Perhaps that's why anorexia nervosa has one of the highest mortality rates amongst all psychiatric disorders. Well, 6 years later, I went back to America. It was the summer of my second year. And it had been 6 years since I'd come out of the hospital. This time, I decided that I was going to enjoy eating on this trip because I hadn't the last time. And, well, this time I did enjoy eating. This time, I met my therapist, and she was more like a friend. I went back to visit the hospital, and something in my heart tugged at me because when I was walking down those hallways, I realized that I was not the same girl anymore. And I was proud of that. We were spending the summers at my cousin's place, and the basement was converted into a dance studio. I remember when I first stepped into it, I remember the sunlight streaming in through the windows, and I could just see enough green of the grass and enough blue of the sky. And everything that I was seeing, I could see that being reflected onto the giant mirrors on the wall. I'd wanted to dance ballet again for so long, and I decided that there was no better time to start. So I went for some classes. I walked into the studio, and I loved how ballet made my body feel again. I wanted to move in all those beautiful ways. And I realized that that meant that I had to be strong to move in all those beautiful ways. Recovery was really messy because I had to allow myself to eat again. I had to teach myself to come to terms with all the foods that I had labeled as bad. And the funniest part is that when you've been going on an empty stomach for so long, and when you finally let yourself eat, well, sometimes you eat a lot. And that makes you feel guilty, and so sometimes you don't eat again after that, but that's the cycle that you have to break. And I allowed myself to go through this messiness of recovery to heal my relationship with food. I realized that I had the autonomy. I had the choice. And this time, I chose to eat because I needed that energy. I needed that fuel. I needed that strength. And even when I didn't feel like it, I chose to eat. Even when it was difficult, I chose to eat. The thing is that it would have been way easier to not. But if I would make that choice, I was just paving the path for the next time and then the next. And I did not want to go down that road again. I did not want to live a restricted life anymore. Something that helped me get through this messiness of recovery was realizing that I can look at things in two ways. If I restrict myself, then I will always be living on less. I'm creating my own conditions of scarcity. Or I could choose to live a fuller life, a more abundant life, in the chances that I take and in the choices I can make. Sometimes we cling on to what has already happened, our old ways of doing things. Sometimes we're worried about what will happen. We forget the present moment, that it is here and it is for our taking. We forget that we have a choice, and we have a choice to move out of certain conditions, but we also have the choice to create our own conditions. I won't tell you that it won't be hard, but I will tell you that only you can do it best. Something that offered me another perspective was my faith. I came across this brilliant idea of my body is a temple, and you bring good things into a temple, right? So I decided that I was going to do exactly that. That's how I was going to treat my body. It is my body, after all, and I can take care of it best. And that means that I have to live up to taking care of it the best I can. Once you decide on something, you just have to keep choosing to do it. And I had decided that I was going to treat my body like a temple of strength that I was going to honor with grace and with intention. As I worked on making myself stronger, I started noticing my physical posture a lot. I realized that the way I stand really makes a difference because I didn't want to keep myself small anymore. Ballet had helped me stand on my feet again, and I just wanted to stand taller. So, I decided to honor my body with the energy that it needed. Another thing I did was I started noticing the posture that I hold towards myself, because I realized that the way we talk to ourselves matters so much. Slowly, I was starting to trust myself again. I taught myself that I do not need to wait for the perfect moment because so many moments have just gone by and me waiting for them. I don't need to be scared of failing because it's not the end unless I make it. I stopped trying to build in an uncertain tomorrow that I didn't know. And instead, I decided to live in each present moment. And this meant more right nows. I discovered that right now is the best time to do something. And you can really get time on your side if you choose more right nows. I'd always dreamt of making my own music ever since I was little. But I think somewhere along the way, I got scared of the sound of my own voice. But I remember that singing makes me happy and that I enjoy putting my thoughts into song. So, one right now, I did exactly that. I chose to do exactly that. And now I have my own album on Spotify. And it's really special to know that others connect to my music too. I realized that we're not meant to live this life scared and alone, and that we never really are alone. I started to trust others with who I was and what I was about again. I have found that the postures we hold towards life can nurture what life gives back to us. We can either deprive it or nourish it. My eating disorder tore me away from who I was. It kept me small, it kept me unsure, and it kept me isolated. I remember when I was 13 and my eating disorder was growing stronger, my closest friends asked me why I was growing so quiet in conversation. And I remember telling them that I didn't really think that anyone would care about what I have to say. They told me they cared about it. But truth be told, I doubted myself. And by doing that, I kept them at a distance. Today, though, I have voluntarily taken center stage as I share with you the story of how I connected with myself. And through this, I mean to connect with you. Because this is the story of how I remembered my future that could have been forgotten just like that. And so I ask you that you stay with yourselves, you remember who you are, you hold on to it, and you nurture it. Because there's so much more to us. And when we don't allow ourselves to become all that we can be, we end up creating our own forgotten futures. Thank you.